Hi, I'm Eliot from Magoosh. In this video, we're going to think about the IELTS speaking section and focus specifically on things you can do when you're feeling stuck. Sometimes, as you probably are aware, when you're practicing, you're going to get a little nervous or you're not going to know exactly what to say for some of the questions. So what can you do in that situation so that you avoid a situation where you're hurting your score because you're just not able to say anything or you just can't move on to that next idea? What kind of strategies can you use to overcome that problem? All right, so the first tip here is to learn some phrases that are going to help you sort of get an extra second or two before you have to jump into the idea you want to express. So you don't want to use this on every single question the interviewer asks you, but you can certainly say things like, well, that's an interesting question. I haven't thought of that before. Or, well, let me think about that. Well, the first reason I like to live in my hometown is whatever, and you continue. Those little phrases you learn can really buy you some precious time to collect your thoughts and to move on to that next idea. Okay, another thing you can do, and this is related to that first idea, at the end of what you're going to say. Sometimes you've been talking for 15 seconds, 20 seconds about an idea, and then you kind of get lost and you're not sure how to end what you're currently talking about. There are some phrases you can use to finish a thought, and that helps you to move on to the next idea or to let the interviewer know you're done and you want the next question. Okay, so you can say things like, well, to summarize, I think that whatever, and then you give a brief summary of what you just answered to the interviewer. You can say phrases like, to conclude, or, as a result. You can sort of talk about the final thing that happened or the consequence of what you've been discussing. Lots of different ways there you can wrap up a statement, a thought, so that you communicate to the interviewer that you're done. Okay, so that's good to do if you're talking about a particular idea and you really have no idea where to take it next or what that next thought should be or how to express it. Wrap up what you're saying and allow the interviewer to ask you another question instead of stumbling over words and getting sort of lost in what you're saying. Okay, another thing you can do if you're really stuck, and this works for all three sections of the speaking test, is, don't get too stuck on talking about your real opinions or things that have actually happened to you. I think it's easiest to talk about your real thoughts, your real experiences, real examples from your life or things you know about. I think that's preferable. That's what you should do if you can. But if you need to, and to be able to say something to fill in your answer a little bit, it's perfectly fine to come up with an example that isn't 100% true, okay? So don't lose points because you're worried about whether or not the interviewer is actually going to look into what you're saying and see if it's actually true for you. They're not going to do that. They're listening to your language. They're listening to what you say. So you don't want to say something crazy. You don't want to say something that sounds totally unrealistic and untrue. But if you need to, go ahead and make up something that fits what you're saying so that you can talk fluently about it and get a great score. Okay, another tip is to just avoid getting stuck trying to use the perfect word or trying to use all the words you've been studying really hard in your vocabulary list. It's, of course, really good to use advanced words, and all those words you've been studying should help you. Hopefully you're able to use a number of them fluently in your interview. But some students get stuck because they're trying to use lots of advanced words, okay? It's better for your fluency if you can just talk about words and use words that you're comfortable with. And to avoid getting to those places where you're really searching for words and you're pausing for 2 or 3 seconds because you're not pulling up that word as quickly as you wanted to. Preserve your fluency. You want to be fluent in your interview. So use words that you're comfortable with. On the exam day, the test day for you for the speaking section is not the day you should be trying out lots and lots and lots of new words that you're only somewhat comfortable with. Use words you're comfortable with and avoid getting stuck on words that you're not quite familiar enough with to use on the exam. And a final tip here, if this is something we've talked about in other speaking videos that you may have watched, if you are really stuck and you're not sure, especially even what the question means that the examiner asked you, or if you just really need some time, you have no idea what to say in response to the question, you can ask the interviewer to repeat him or herself, okay? In part 1 of the test, you can ask the interviewer to repeat words. You can buy some time that way to think about what you need to say. In part 3 of the test, you're allowed to ask the interviewer to rephrase the question for you because you didn't fully understand. That's another good way to buy yourself some time, to get some extra time to think about what you want to say, even if you fully understood what the interviewer asked you. You want to be careful though. You can't use this strategy every single question. Don't keep asking for clarification. Don't keep asking the interviewer to repeat words. Use this once or twice in your interview and you'll be perfectly fine. It won't hurt your score. Also be careful on part 2 of the test, the monologue section. You're not really allowed to ask for clarification, so don't do it in that section. They're going to give you an interview card and a minute to read it over. You're supposed to be able to respond to everything on that card without clarification, okay? So be careful about that. But for parts 1 and 3, there are ways you can get extra time to collect your thoughts, to get unstuck, and to provide a good answer by asking for clarification or asking the interviewer to repeat what they just said. So if you want some more help with getting ideas about phrases you can use in the speaking section and other tips like what we've discussed in this video, we've got 2 great resources for you down in the description below. Check both of them out. One is a vocabulary guide that has a lot of information on the speaking section and vocabulary and phrases that are useful for you in IELTS speaking and the other sections of the test. And then we've got a complete guide to the speaking section there that's going to give you tips like the ones you've heard in this video and lots of other things you should know about the speaking section to do as well as you can. And if you like this video, go ahead and check out these other videos over here. Lots of other materials there that are going to help you to do as well as you can on the IELTS exam.